Which Mavericks have the most to prove as we get ready for Wednesday's play-in game versus the Sacramento Kings? We'll debate that coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carrello. We, of course, are DLLS Mavs. Appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. It's time to put up or shut up when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks as they get ready for their playing game on Wednesday against the Sacramento Kings. Which Mavericks have the most to prove going into Wednesday's game? We'll get into that. Plus, we'll dial up the Stein Line a little bit later on in our show with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, on this amazing Monday, gentlemen. Good to see both of you. How are you feeling today?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Put up or shut up. Where did that phrase come from? What's the etymology? Like, put up your suitcase in the overhead of the plane as you fly to Cancun. And I feel like both could be
from english.stackexchange.com. That's free advertisement for that great website. The phrase comes from boxing, when one fighter would challenge another and require him to put up a stake for the match or stop his violent words.
His yapping.
Yeah.
Either you put up the dukes or shut up your trash talk.
Cut down with the rhetoric.
Fight
there,
or
pal.
shut up.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah.
So
Either get in here and fight or, quit talking.
Who is the most likely Maverick to get in a fight on Wednesday?
Oh, that's a good question.
Caleb Martin.
Caleb Martin's a good candidate. Najee's a good candidate.
Yeah,
actually, Najee's already
Najee
proven that he will
yeah.
be willing to get into a fight for sure.
Yeah, it's gotta be the knife.
Yeah, ask Yusuf Nurkic how that worked out for him.
True.
And his face.
Najee ended Yusuf Nurkic's career that night.
I would say, have we really even heard from Yusuf Nurkic since it? Because he got sent to the Shadow Realm in Charlotte.
He does play. He plays. Oh yeah. That's tough.
Kind of into the Mavs season too, though.
Honestly.
Everything was bad from that moment on.
Yeah.
I mean,
was that when the vibes were highest when Najee was smacking around Yusuf Nurkic and
things
Phoenix?
were going poorly at that moment. We're not doing a retrospective yet. We're going to go back after the season, so maybe as soon as Thursday. I think that's our plan.
It just goes to show that
yeah.
violence is not always the answer. In fact, it's never the answer.
Tell the NHL that.
Honestly,
they embrace it.
Yeah, that sent the Sun season into a free fall. It wasn't really that. Maybe it was.
They started 8-1, and we know how their season ended. In fact, it ended with Mike Budenholzer getting fired today.
8-1.
Suns.
Their coach got fired. They completely missed the playoffs. The Warriors, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0. The Warriors started really hot too.
They did. They
and
did.
They're a play-in team. Actually, before we get into the show, I have one very quick thought about the play-in tournament. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, the play-in tournament was so good because of yesterday's game." Right? Have you guys seen the sentiment online?
No.
Because of the Clippers and the Lakers, not the Clippers and the Warriors game was so good. A lot of people are like, "Oh my God, the play-in is working. That game had a playoff atmosphere. This is exactly what we came to see." If you didn't have the play-in, you could just have playoff games. You don't love last night because of the play-in tournament. I'm not even anti-play-in tournament. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand why it exists. But the reason you love that game is because there's a playoff atmosphere between two teams. And right now, the Warriors would just be about to start a play-in tournament fully rested, and you would be able to watch more good playoff basketball, except for the fact that now they have to play on Tuesday. There's a chance that they don't even make it to the postseason. There's a chance they lose that game and have to beat Dallas or Sacramento. Then they have to face the Thunder. If what you enjoyed about last night was the playoff atmosphere, what you're really missing is just good playoff series. And I do think the play-in tournament does just a little bit to make it a little bit harder for teams like the Warriors, who finished 7th, even though they're much better than a 7th seed realistically in the NBA. you just made it a little bit harder for them to go put up a good fight against a team like
He's becoming a playoff truther. I'm so proud. I'm so proud.
How about so? Sure, that makes your heart smile, Bobby.
The
for
play-in,
sure.
It was just
2
bad
thumbs
logic.
down. 2 thumbs down to the play-in.
It's bad logic. I get it I get why the NBA does it. I don't think they're ever going to take it away, and I'm fine with that because theoretically it makes a few teams try harder, and it gives you a few more better games. Now, ultimately, the play-in just elevates a team to get smoked in the first round. It adds some intrigue into how badly and which opponent the first seed is going to just blow out of the water. But I just thought the logic from last night, everybody being like, play in, it's awesome. They still would have been fighting for positioning. They still would have been fighting for seeding. But what you're really missing is the playoffs, because the playoffs really, through a very complex set of rules, started last night. But it means the actual playoff series the Warriors are going to play might not live up to expectations because they had to go do all that. And they're going to have to go play another game on Tuesday.
Yeah, game number 82 between the Warriors and the Clippers would have still had the same meaning even without the play-in because they're still fighting to be either the 6th or the 7th seed. And the idea of having a matchup versus a particular team or another, I mean, is kind of what we're here for.
But that's also my point. It wouldn't quite – the play-in did give that game more significance and more importance. But it gave one game that importance that you could have just got from a real playoff series. And if the first round is disappointing at all, especially for the teams that had to win a couple play-in games to face their opponents, I am going to use that as an indictment. I'm going to be watching that.
Can I get on a Boomer soapbox?
You may.
Real quick. The real prize of last night's game was the winning team gets a week vacation.
That's actually very true.
Like, that's the stakes. Like, awesome. The reason that game was so good is because one team wanted a few extra days off.
Both teams.
Like,
yeah, both teams wanted a few extra days off.
Sure, yeah, but like that's what you get.
But that's why it was good, because both teams wanted that, and it was really important.
So like we're incentivizing teams with vacation time for winning games. Our society's become so weak, KG. Just kidding.
Guess what? Because you don't take vacations.
Yeah.
You don't take vacations on our dime.
Yeah,
okay?
you know what? The Mavs actually, they made the play-in on purpose because they don't want a vacation.
Nobody's taking vacations around here.
They got 10th because they're like, you know what? Let's go on the road. Let's make it tougher. I'm not afraid of a challenge. They're like Elle Woods at Harvard.
That's right. Because you know what? They're practicing today. No days off around here, baby.
That's right.
They're practicing tomorrow. Guess what? No days off around here, baby.
They're going to practice on Wednesday before the game too. They're going to practice on Thursday after their season's over.
I heard they chartered a plane that's so big they're going to practice on the flight.
Oh, that would actually be really cool.
What's the biggest plane that's ever been made? I actually probably know this.
A full-length basketball court on an
fit
airplane
a
would be
basketball
diabolical.
court onto a plane?
I love the line.
No,
Googling.
a full-size. Thank you, Google AI. No, a full-size basketball court cannot realistically fit onto a commercial airplane. Basketball courts are significantly larger than the interior space of even the largest passenger planes. All right, so we cleared that up. They're not practicing on the plane tomorrow. Film session. Film.
That's
Film.
right.
Straight from the moment you board, you get handed your iPad, you start cranking it. Now that
Excuse me.
Oh, wow.
That
Wow.
was poor wording.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
they're certainly going to be watching a type of film on the plane tomorrow. And just
Oh man.
that's all right, Tim.
That's all right, Tim.
I'm gonna let Kevin run the show now.
We're
because
almost there.
This was poor.
It's all right. We're going to turn the page just like the Wings are going to do tonight when they take Paige Becker's number 1. Shout out to the Dallas Wings getting Paige tonight. But the question is, gentlemen, which Mavericks have the most to prove and the most to gain and maybe the most to lose on Wednesday when they take on the Sacramento Kings? Let us know in the chat as well as we answer a couple of these questions before we end our first segment here, as the Mavericks will take on Sacramento at 9 p.m., Bobby, on Wednesday night in Sacramento for the 9-10 playoff game, which is where I will start with you, Bobby. Which Maverick has the most to prove in Wednesday's play-in game between themselves and the
Anthony
Sacramento?
Davis.
Hard stop.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis.
You got to be the best player on the floor, man. And like we have seen him be the best player on the floor numerous times during his time in Dallas. We've also seen him not be the best player on the floor numerous times. The Kings have, Sabonis, DeRozan, and Zach LaVine. It's not the most ferocious big three in the league or anything, but all three of those guys are better than any other player on the Mavs. Probably. Maybe PJ might be better than some of them on his good day. Maybe Klay, if he gets on a heater, is better than one of them on a good day. But AD can be better than all three of them and needs to be better than all three of them, because odds are one of them will have a bad game. Two of them will be pretty good. And their pretty good is really good. AD, you got to go for 28, 12, 6, 3. You gotta stuff the stat sheet, be the best player on the floor. And if you're not, then that's a pretty big bummer, and the team will almost certainly lose.
I was gonna say Brandon Williams, and obviously we don't know. We'll talk to Stein here in a couple segments. We'll get an update on his injury, or as much of an update as he has. But like I said on the show yesterday, I think Brandon Williams is the one guy playing for next season's role on this team. And right now, Dallas gave him a contract that goes through next year. Right now, I think he's in their plans, but to what extent he's in their plan, to what extent they can trust him to be a guy who they rely on as a bench scorer, as a bench point guard. I think that he is still proving that, and the more he does, especially as the stakes ratchet up, I think he's got a lot to prove. Now, fingers crossed he's actually on the court, because he's like one of the very few exciting things left on the roster, left to watch any given Mavericks game. But Brandon Williams was my answer, and now the injury just kind of has put a cloud over things. We'll see how that goes.
Bobby said Anthony Davis. I'm gonna go with PJ Washington in this particular case, because if Anthony Davis is going to be that version of Anthony Davis that we know that he's capable of being, that means somebody else has got to come with him in order for the Mavericks to be able to win that game, and it's going to have to be PJ Washington for him on both ends of the floor, and he's got to cut down on the turnovers. If he can be the second best player for the Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday, they got a real good shot of winning this game on the road against Sacramento. If not, it's going to be a long night potentially for this team taking on a team offensively in Sacramento that can put up points in bunches. So PJ Washington, for me, has got the most to prove, because he's got to be the second best player on the Dallas Mavericks, because if not, they could be in a little bit of trouble. Classic Stein Lover with the $1.99 super chat. Does Paige drink beer? Not what?
Not talking like women's weight. Like,
yeah, no,
like
I get
the Mavs did with Luka.
I had to make sure before I read it was appropriate to read.
Paige is famously sober from all chemicals, has never eaten a burger in her life, lives in the gym, and actually only dreams in basketball film. The perfect kind of basketball player for the Dallas Mavericks.
She did, after winning, she had a Diet Coke and said it was her first one in 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's actually, like, I think you started being mostly truthful.
No, that whole thing was a joke. I did not know that was true, though.
Oh, the whole thing.
Nico Harrison is like, Nico is like sweating right now. He's like, oh my god. Maybe Nico will like resign his post to go be the GM of the Wings.
Hey,
he's like,
hey,
this is
relax.
the perfect basketball player. Oh my god, and she's American. Oh my god. What, is she signed with Nike?
She is. I
Oh
believe.
my God.
I believe she is.
Unbelievable.
Oh wow.
Okay, so real quick, since we're down this road,
Team USA?
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't think people are really ready for the experience that they're about to get with Paige Beckers. Like, she is a superstar, and Dallas is going to love Paige Beckers here. So I'm excited for her to get her chance to prove it on the biggest stage in the women's game as far as the WNBA is concerned. But yeah, Nico would love. He would love Paige Beckers for sure. A straight edge, non-beer drinking.
If only
superstar.
Luka just drank Diet Coke.
That'd be the least of his problems.
Yeah.
Just not drinking any type of soda for sure. Real quick then, who's got the most to lose? We'll do it in a minute and a half. Who's got the most to lose on Wednesday night?
I mean, Nico Harrison probably.
Okay.
Like, if we're being just totally honest here, if the Mavs lose on the 9-10, buddy, I mean, who are you blaming? Like, I don't think any Mavs players have anything to lose. I guess, like, Klay Thompson for the narrative thing of coming back from 0 for a million last year, like, he could just be he could be bummed all summer if he has another stinker in the play-in, but, like, this is not the player's fault. Like, the situation is what it is because one dude decided that he was just, he was heat checking from mid-court in the first quarter. So, yeah, Nico and Jay Kidd, I guess, are the only people.
Okay, you took mine. Mine was going to be Jason Kidd.
Yeah, I'd say Nico more than Kidd, though.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah.
I'll say Derek Lively. I expect Lively to be on the team next season, but if he does not look fully healthy, if he does not look fully effective playing next to Anthony Davis, he is a prime candidate not just as a, less so a young player. I think he's proven himself that his age does not affect his ability to be good on the court, but his lack of availability and just the awkwardness of that fit, if it really shows up in this game, if once again Dallas goes in and plays a team and the double big lineup is not viable, that's worrisome to me, just knowing Nico's track record going into this summer. I think if he looks healthy, if he looks good, then I'm less worried about it. I'm less worried about that fit. But I've also been a little bit worried and thought that at times Lively hasn't looked himself. So I'll say he has the most to lose here.
Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we hop into Cato's Corner. We take our first look into the Kings Mavericks matchup and what we need to watch for going into that game on Wednesday. Plus, later on, we'll dial up the Stein Line with our guy, Marc Stein. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
Just like your favorite team needs a home court advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And that's why, if you need some flooring, just go chant, "Higher Empire today. Higher Empire. Higher Empire. Empire today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day." We've all been to those big box stores, but you don't know who you're talking to. It might be somebody who's working electricity, or tiles or bathroom, and now they're just kind of moonlighting as a flooring guy. Whereas Empire today has flooring experts. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLS listeners can receive a $350 discount while using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard that right. A $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details.
Let's talk about Sleeper for a little bit. It's everyone's favorite fantasy league platform. I spent a lot of time on Sleeper this weekend sending out trade offers in all my dynasty leagues. For some reason, no one's willing to dance with me, but I can always dance picking whether my favorite or least favorite players will record more or less in their projected stats each and every night, each and every game across each and every sport. You could have played in golf yesterday. You could do basketball. Hey, you got stars going on. You got baseball going on. There's always something to do on Sleeper. And the more you pick, the more you win with their multipliers all the way up to 100 times your money. The app will always keep you updated with the latest injuries, the latest transactions, all the latest news and notes you need to stay ahead of your friends and stay ahead of the competition. Hopefully make yourself some cash. So what are you waiting for? When you download Sleeper today, use promo code DLLS Mavs. Play $5 to get $55 in free plays to use anytime. Doesn't have to be your first one. Just check those terms and conditions before you do and download Sleeper today.
What to watch for when the Kings take on your Dallas Mavericks in Wednesday's play-in game. Plus, later on in our show, we'll dial up the Stein Line with our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, with the latest in and around the association and, of course, for your Dallas Mavericks. Tip-off will be at 9 p.m. on Wednesday night. We will have our pregame show at 8:30 p.m. here on DLL Sports, followed by our play-in watch-along as the Mavericks
watch along
visit the Sacramento Kings on Wednesday night. But right now,
was that a war? Like you're saying that like Warriors? Warriors.
It is going to be a battle. You might see 3 grown men cry on Wednesday night.
Oh, I just meant like the Oracle Arena Warriors chant.
No, I know.
Okay.
Wait, are
You didn't
y'all
acknowledge it.
crying? Who's the ones crying on Wednesday?
You, me, and Tim.
Oh, not Kevin?
No, KG is he's a mature professional man.
Plus,
Why would I be
his
crying?
mind will be in Vegas by that time.
Yeah.
So it's like,
That's my guy,
He's just
Tanner.
completely
That's my
spaced
guy
out.
right
Just
there.
completely spaced out. Yeah.
When that clock strikes 000, depending on the outcome of that game, look here, man. It is what it is. Let's hop into Cato's Corner, though, right now here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Let's take a look at our first impressions of this series. We delved into it a little bit yesterday, but let's take a little bit deeper dive, Tim, as we get ready for some an intriguing matchup, but also a matchup that gives two teams an opportunity to try to make some noise in this play-in here.
Yeah, I mean, intriguing in a very loose sense.
Sure.
This is what Adam Silver wanted. I want to start with the Anthony Davis Domantas Sabonis matchup, which I think I mentioned it briefly in passing, but it might just be because I'm so online. But I remember coming into the season when Sabonis was like he was talked about as a Davis stopper or like somebody who always beat Davis. And technically that was true. Since the start of their careers, the first 9 games they played against each other, which interestingly, they went like a 4-season span with like 1 game played. Like every time the Kings, well, first the Pacers and then the Kings played the Lakers, Davis was usually out or Sabonis would miss a random game. In fact, the first four games they played, Sabonis was a rookie starting 4 for the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I barely remember. But the Thunder, that it was the 16-17 season, they beat the Pelicans, Davis's Pelicans back then. They beat them 4 times that year. So yeah, Sabonis did start 9-0 in his career. What happened this season? All 4 games the Lakers played against the Pelicans was played before the trade happened. The Lakers won all 4 games. So the record is now 9-4, and the stats show that maybe Sabonis used to have something against Davis, but it didn't really translate this year. So almost 41 minutes of Sabonis guarding AD, and that's matchup time. That's over the 4 games that they played, Lakers versus Sacramento. But about 41 minutes, and I want you to remember the minutes as well. But in those 41 minutes that Sabonis was guarding AD shot 17 of 38, which isn't amazing, but it's a lot better when you draw 10 shooting fouls and you end up scoring 53 points on 38 shots. That stood out to me. Last season, it was 44 points on 39 shots. That's a little bit closer. That's a little bit better defense. When Sabonis was guarding Davis, Sabonis forced him into 15 of 39 shooting. That was last season, though. The numbers are much better this year. What was interesting is I looked at the inverse and how often did Davis guard Sabonis this season, and what was the results of that? Only 30 minutes, a little bit under 30 minutes of matchup time, a difference of about 11. What that says to me is that when Sabonis was being guarded by Davis, he was either more reluctant to shoot or try to score, or he was hunting more often for a different matchup. Obviously, Sabonis is someone who scores, a little bit less, is a little bit less of a scorer than Davis is. But I think that Sabonis, at this point of their careers, cares a little bit more about when Davis is guarding him. He's a little bit more fearful of that than the other way around. That said, it did stand out that Sabonis had a 21-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio, or 21 assists, 1 turnover. So if Davis does end up guarding Sabonis, and I think that's a big matchup question we have for the series, I think Sabonis is going to be comfortable trying to turn into a hub, a facilitator. I think that's something that's likely to happen. And then you have to think, is Sabonis so scary as a scorer that we want to put our best defender on him to shut him down? Or is it kind of like a Jokic situation where you'll live with, out of 2 options that are pretty good, not as good as Jokic's 2 options of scorer pass, but, Sabonis is a scorer, he's a passer. Do you just want to make him a scorer? Do you just want to challenge him, say, we're always going to have a center on the court. AD is going to be a help side guy. If we can figure out where to put him on Keon Ellis or somebody like that, he's going to be the helper. And we're going to live with Sabonis trying to just take over this game, trying to score 35 or 40. It's a one-off situation. It's a little bit easier as a playoff, to go into a playoff with a specific game plan. You can't be so reactive. Remember back when the Mavericks played the Clippers in the first round of the last year. They didn't overreact to James Harden hitting a bunch of floaters in the fourth quarter because they said, hey, he's not likely to hit that level of difficulty again. In a one-off win-or-go-home situation, you have to be a lot more reactive. We'll see. I don't know if you guys have like initial thoughts, just especially about the difference of kind of planning for 7 games versus planning for 1 game. But that matchup, firmly, whatever you've heard about it, it's not a concern, or at least recently has not been a concern for Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, it's all projection because Sabonis only played in 2 of the games against the Mavs this year, and the Mavs didn't have a center in either one of those. I mean, Gafford did start the game where he got hurt, but he got hurt, was it in the first half?
Or maybe the first quarter.
First quarter, yeah.
Or maybe just minutes into the second. But yeah, it was early in the
so he basically didn't play. And in the game in Sacramento, no bigs played at all. Sabonis had 31 rebounds in those 2 games. 10 of them came on offense. And, in the fourth quarter of the game when Gafford got hurt, that was the DeMar DeRozan game. DeRozan, remember, started that game red hot, and then in the fourth quarter could not hit the broadside of a barn until the very last possession to force overtime or whatever that was. But throughout the fourth quarter and overtime, Sabonis just parked it under the rim. He did not do any handoffs. He was not the Fulcrum or the Hub or any of that stuff, which is ordinarily what they do. It was just DeRozan ISO, Zach LaVine ISO. I think Malik Monk was still healthy at the time. Malik Monk ISO, and then they would just throw some stuff up, and Sabonis would tap it in. So Sacramento in that game abandoned its game plan, and rightfully so, because what they were doing was not working.
Yeah,
like the Kings, DeRozan was hot, but the Mavs are winning that game. They were able to shut the door by abandoning what they do. So we've already seen the Kings do that.
It was double big, right?
Be willing to, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
they put Valanciunas
well,
out there.
for part of it, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a big thing that sparked the comeback.
Yeah, the comeback, yeah. But then in overtime, they played LaVine. They benched Valanciunas, I think, in that game. But at any rate, yeah, because LaVine spent the whole fourth quarter on the bench. It was really damning of the trade of De'Aaron Fox to the rivals, by the way. Thanks for that. That's awesome. But anyway, the Kings abandoned it. The Mavs will have to abandon their stuff. I mean, I think
that was Trey Lyles. That's my bad.
The real issue is, the Mavs, it would not be abandoning their game plan to put AD on Sabonis and Lively on someone else. It would be abandoning their game plan to put Davis on Sabonis and bring in a wing, and I think it's very likely, even against a team like Sacramento that can't really shoot threes, that's probably not going to ring you up for 135. It's very likely that just to keep up with them, that they're going to have to play one big. Like, there are some teams that you can play 2 bigs against and demolish them. I don't think the Kings are one of those teams. And that's why it's further mystifying that they really want to entrench themselves in this 2 bigs or nothing kind of operation, because, I mean, it's been proven time and time and time again that that's just not the way to do things. However, Lively is fleet of foot enough to defend perimeter guys, and so I think Lively can
fully healthy.
Yeah, Lively can keep up with a guy like Keegan Murray. Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. He's not fully healthy right now. AD is not moving well right now either. So in theory, the Kings would be a decent matchup for this Mavs team, but in practice, I'm just not sure it is.
And maybe the 2.5 minutes left in the segment isn't the right time to have this conversation. In fact, it is not. But it's worth at some point later. We're gonna have a lot of time this summer to talk about why Dallas's double bigs are different than, say, Jared Allen and
Evan
Mobley. Thank you. And other double big lineups we've seen. I think one big difference between them and Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, and we've seen Horford and Porzingis, and there's a couple other instances of double bigs.
Rudy.
Cat and Rudy is a good example. In the past, but still, Minnesota is a team that uses 2 bigs. We've seen Cat in New York play next to Mitchell a little bit,
yeah.
and they've had some other rotating centers come off the bench. I think a huge difference why Dallas is different than those teams is who they have as in the backcourt and who they have 1 to 3. I think that's one big reason, one big difference. There's also some difference between the bigs, specifically Jared Allen and Mobley. Mobley is what Anthony Davis was like 4 years ago. And just in terms of a perimeter monster who just covers so much ground. With each passing year, Anthony Davis covers a little bit less ground. It doesn't mean that he's declining as a point of attack defender specifically. But it's a little bit harder for him to make that rotation every single time, especially in the state that he is right now, where he is tasked with nominally guarding someone on the perimeter that he has to run out to, sprint out to make that closeout every time, but also get all the advantages of him sagging off that player into the paint.
Yeah, that's
we'll table that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because now I'm thinking about the future of this team. As Anthony Davis gets older, it would be more prudent with the declining athleticism for him to be fully at center as his career goes on. But what would that mean for roster construction and everything like that?
He doesn't want to play center.
But
that's the thing.
But he's got declining athleticism as he gets older. It would be more wiser to have him be a full-time center. But like you mentioned, he doesn't want to play.
It's been wiser to have him play full-time throughout his entire career.
The fact that he's in year, 12, 13, and we're still arguing about whether or not he should be playing 4 or 5. It's still kind of wild to me.
But I mean, like, playing him at 4 during the regular season is fine as long as he's willing to play 5 in the playoffs, which he has been at various points.
Sure.
But again, it's just like, why we're not going back. Why do they want to go back so bad to a roster construction style that was popular 25 years ago?
Yeah,
it just doesn't make. Oh, I know, because Kobe won a title playing with 2 bigs. That's why.
You got the Kobe reference in. Let's take our next break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, as we dial up the Stein Line with his news and notes on the Mavericks and around the association. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But it's that time of the year again when it comes to paying your property taxes, and Ownwell wants to take care of that from start to finish for you. Owning property can be challenging. I know. My wife and I own a home, and we got that dreaded letter in the mail letting us know how much we're going to be paying in our property taxes, but it's not going to be any sweat because we're going to use Ownwell to take care of things. Ownwell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair, and Ownwell is going to help you do that by handling everything from start to finish and delivering top results with no upfront cost, so you only pay if you save. 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction with an average customer savings of over $1,100. Hundreds of thousands of happy customers and 5-star reviews, and they're able to take care of it with Ownwell. So don't forget, the deadline to protest is May 15th. For most counties. In fact, it's about a month from today. Save money on your property tax with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS.
Timeline is a supplement that works with your cells to give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. And fortunately, this camera zoomed out enough to where you can't see all the grays coming in. But I, too, am starting to age.
I can see them.
Well, all right, keep it to yourself, Tim.
Wow.
I'm starting to age. I use Timeline, and I feel great all the time, honestly. The patented ingredient is MitoPure, a postbiotic nutrient that clears your dysfunctional mitochondria. And as you all know, those are your powerhouse of the cells. That's where all your juice comes from. MitoPure recharges your cells and helps your body system to work better. It's the only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate health at the cellular level. And MitoPure is shown to deliver double-digit increases in muscle strength and endurance without a change in exercise, which is a huge win. Right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/DLLS today to get started. Again, that's timeline.com/DLLS. Get revitalized.
Let's welcome in our national NBA insider. You can always dial up the Stein Line.
Mark.
At the Stein Line. He, of course, is Marc Stein on a busy day so far in the association as the league has its day off before the playing games begin tomorrow. Marc Stein, good to see you. How are we today?
Is my microphone working?
Oh, booming. You're
It
booming.
is.
You sound good.
It's really bringing
It
out
does?
the bass in your voice. It's awesome.
My phone is doing some crazy stuff that you guys can't see, so I was a little worried. But if you guys say it sounds all right, I'm going to believe you.
Your phone is sending you text from sources saying fired. That is pretty crazy.
Well, we'll get to that here in just a moment because, yes, there's a lot of that going on, unfortunately, for folks losing their jobs so far today. Let's start, though, with the Mavericks because they've got their playing game on Wednesday against the Sacramento Kings, and the question about Brandon Williams, who's now become an important part of this team with his point guarding skills, suffered an oblique injury in yesterday's season finale, did not play in the second half. What more do we have when it comes to Brandon Williams and his potential availability?
There is indeed some concern and there is indeed some concern that they don't know. They don't have a firm read yet on whether he will be able to play. That's the as I was informed, he was likely going to need an MRI today to gauge the severity of the injury. Jason Kidd said after practice to the assembled reporters that the Mavs don't yet have an update, but I have heard some pessimism. They're not sure they're going to have Brandon Williams for this game, and that's obviously going to be a problem because they're so thin in the backcourt. I mean, they've got Dinwiddie, they've got Brandon Williams, they've got Najee Marshall taking on a huge portion of the ball handling responsibilities, even though he's not what you would call a traditional guard. It's really those three guys. I think Najee will continue to start, as we've seen here in the last couple games. But if they don't have Brandon Williams, that's obviously a big miss. And, as we speak, approaching, 1 p.m. on Monday, and the game is 57-ish hours away. They don't know yet. They don't know if they're going to have Williams. But like I said, I mean, I heard enough concern coming out of the Memphis game that, yeah, they're worried about it.
Dump a bunch of bad news on us. Can we kick Stein off the show already?
No, we cannot.
No?
No.
I do. Maybe this will make you feel a little better. Again, this is by no means locked in or official, but the feeling coming out of Memphis was that Derek Lively is going to play. He obviously did not play in the final game, but that was more just granting him a day of rest as he continues to work his way back from injury. But Lively is going to play Wednesday. It appears, it's too soon to lock these things in. But the other problem with the Brandon Williams situation, I forgot Dante Exum, but Dante Exum is still on a minutes restriction. So Dante Exum, maybe they can bump his minute range up. But, he's still been in the 12 to 15 minute range in terms of restriction. Can that grow a little bit? So they will have Exum as a backcourt option as well, but they're obviously not going into this thing anywhere near full strength. But, Sacramento does have its own injury issues as well, because the Kings won't have Malik Monk.
I know this is not really a rant directed at you. I don't really know.
Yes,
I don't really understand the Mavericks and minutes restrictions this year. How Kyrie Irving never had one, but it had no effect on his injury. But every player coming back has had very severe ones. And for players who had muscle injuries, I understand. For Dante Exum, who broke his hand and is just playing through a broken hand, what? Why? What is limiting his minutes? He has a broken hand. Either he can play with it or he can't. I don't know what would make it worse. It's a hand. That's all it is. It's his non-shooting hand.
The number of passes that he can catch.
That's right.
Yeah. He can either play or he can't, given this specific injury. I just do not understand this.
Well, Cato been holding that one in for a minute there.
My response to Cato's corner is twofold. A, I feel a lot better about my Empire flooring read yesterday after hearing Cato's performance in segment.
Whoa, he led a chant. Come on.
Yeah, the chant. He was doing fine till the chant. The chant just that thing went way south once the chanting was tried to be weaved in.
I saw home floor advantage, and so I started thinking about how the Mavericks don't have one, and so I was starting a higher empire.
Oh, the fans are always chanting in that building right
empire. Now. It really does work. Anyway, go ahead.
Tim Cato is not alone in raising questions about the medical staff this season and how things are done. I mean, that has been a constant source of chatter all season long. I don't have the answer on how and why the minutes restrictions are calculated, but you are not alone in your bemusement. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I mean, there's a lot of things with the Mavericks under the microscope at this point, but certainly a new medical staff and all the injury struggles that the team has had this season, and there's not a direct correlation there, and there never is. But yeah, I think bemusement.
I believe JJ Barea was highlighted recently on his Instagram, Casey Smith's work in New York.
Oh, I saw that. I did see that.
And I'll leave it at that.
That does bring us up an interesting question as well, because Daniel Gafford has been on a minutes restriction as well, and he was on one, and even in the season finale in the game against Memphis yesterday. So I do wonder about that even going into Wednesday's game as far as his minutes restriction is concerned and how that plays against Sacramento. We've got our National NBA Insider, Marc Stein, joining us live here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Obviously for you, sir, as we got about 6 minutes left with you, a busy day already. in the association, one that could have some impact on the Dallas Mavericks, depending on what conspiracy theory you want to follow when it comes to the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant. As for the third time in 3 seasons, they have fired a head coach. Mike Budenholzer is out in Phoenix after just 1 season, and Matt Ishbia going to be on the head coaching search yet again for the Phoenix Suns going into the summer.
Yeah, look, on the Kevin Durant piece of it, I've just consistently heard that the Mavericks' interest in KD has been overstated. And to this point, nothing has changed my opinion there. Could it change? Could, you always have to be ready for change at this point. And, things are so ridiculously fluid, especially this season. But to this point, I haven't heard of the Mavs trying to join in on the Durant trade chase, no matter how much that was discussed in other places at the deadline. I mean, the way it was kind of laid out to me was the Mavericks are not looking to pursue to this point, as of April 14th, the Mavericks have not been looking to try to go for a 3-star construction and gut their depth to bring in Kevin Durant, which is what they would have to do. So, I don't foresee the Mavericks as a team in the Durant chase. And when it's been written about more recently, the Mavs haven't been lumped into that and mentioned as a Durant team. But, around the league, there is a lot of expectation that the Suns really are going to explore the Durant trade options and do it this time in conjunction with Kevin Durant's team, whereas at the trade deadline, they went pretty far down the road in trade talks with Golden State without presenting it to Durant first, and Durant kind of had to step in and say, guys, I really don't want this trade, and that convinced Golden State to pivot and go after Jimmy Butler instead. But, I mean, you said it, Super Kev, another coaching change. I mean, Matt Ishbia, he bought the team. He inherited Monty Williams. He fired Monty Williams with 3 years left on his deal. They hired Frank Vogel to a 5-year deal. Vogel coached a team with no recognized point guard to a 49-33 season. Frank Vogel was ousted and has since landed on Jason Kidd's staff in an advisory capacity. And then today, I mean, the Suns have been just a nightmare team all season. And Mike Budenholzer, also with 4 years left on his deal, out after 1 year. I mean, you don't see teams make coaching changes when coaches have this many years on his deal, and it's 3, 4, and 4 in Matt Ishbia's first 3 seasons. But this is also very interesting. Matt Ishbia is scheduled to speak to the media this week, so that is going to be must-see TV for someone in my position. If you remember last year, after the 49-33 season, when the Suns made a coaching change, Matt Ishbia told the world that 26 of 29 teams would trade their rosters as is for Phoenix's situation. And he said, the house is not on fire. And so after this season, with where the Suns are, and, they've got to try to find, they're also known league-wide, they want to move off Bradley Beal, but how? Bradley Beal has 2 years left at nearly $111 million. Not an easy number to buy out. He also has a no-trade clause. Bradley Beal and LeBron are the only 2 players in the league who have a full no-trade clause. So the Suns are at the, obviously for our purposes, it's Mavs. What are the Mavs going to do? How are the Mavs going to try to rebound from their own nightmare season? But league-wide, the Suns are right there in terms of curiosity, intrigue, anticipation. People around the league cannot wait to see how Phoenix tries to move on from this campaign. And the Budenholzer dismissal is probably realistically just the start. There's been chatter that
I was going to say the Suns are going to be lighting cash on fire for years. I mean, Ishbia must got a lot of bread to set fire to 3 head coaches and potentially have to buy out Bradley Beal. So they're going to be lighting money on fire for a long time in Phoenix. So good for Ishbia for being an uber billionaire, because my gosh, the amount of money he's got to pay out for guys that don't work for him anymore.
Man,
It's
they're
crazy.
gonna be cooking. They're gonna be cooking so hard. They're gonna need a second apron.
Oh wow! How long you been saving?
That was a good one.
That's a good
Just came up with it. Was not saving it at all. I actually had a worse joke lined up, and I'm like, no.
No,
okay.
you did, but you did good with that one. Yeah, you did good with that one. Mark, we appreciate your time as always. We know you got a busy day ahead of you still, because there could be more to come as the days go on before we get ready for tomorrow's playing games, and that continues on Wednesday. So as always, we appreciate the time, sir.
Yes, we will talk soon. Hopefully, there will be more injury updates to pass along.
Only good
tomorrow.
ones, Mark. Please let them know
I will-
that, please.
I will work on it for you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Good luck, Mark.
That's our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. You can always dial up the Stein Line at the Stein Line. Let's take our final break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, let's take a look at some of the first-round matchups in both the East and the West that we're looking forward to as we move that much closer to the beginning of the NBA playoffs. All that and more coming up next year on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
But first, you should become a diehard, and you can do that by scanning the QR code beneath me, going to the link in the description below, or alldlls.com. Hey, the NFL draft is next week.
That's right.
Oh my God, it's actually here. And we are running a special sale leading up to that. It is just $36 for a whole stinking year to sign up to become a diehard. When you sign up, you will get a free shirt right off the rip, which is essentially almost the value of the membership just by itself. So everything else is just bennies right on top of that main one. We got about 40 shirt designs to choose from. We got more dropping all the time, including very soon, hopefully celebrating a Stars playoff run and not a playoff whimper. You get to read the entire website, all the premium paywalled good, written by folks like Tim on the Mavs beat. We also got people covering the Rangers, the Stars, and the Cowboys. And no matter what happens the rest of this Mavs season, Tim is going to have a lot of goodies dropping over the next couple weeks, recapping everything that did happen, is still happening, and could even happen next. You want to be a part of that. You want to be the most knowledgeable sports fan in all of DFW and all of the world. Become a diehard. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord. It's a great place to hang out. You get a discount on merch. You get a discount on gear. You get a discount on events. Got all sorts of stuff going on. It is really a great time. And best of all, either of y'all got them? Mine is over on my desk.
Physical diehard card.
The physical
I have
diehard
my
card?
wallet on me.
You don't have your wallet on you? Neither do I. But KG's got a physical diehard card. Can we get a close-up of that, Tanner? Look how beautiful that thing is. Oh, my God. That is actually
Boom!
made of pure gold, bronze, titanium,
Got a little
and
weight on it,
other
too.
assorted metals, precious metals.
We all drew blood and put a little drop.
No, we signed our
Well, you're not
lives away
supposed to
for
talk
them
about that
things.
part. That was just for
Oh.
internal use only, but that's fine.
Okay, well we can edit this
Can
before we
delete
post
this.
the show, right?
Yep. This is not live. So thank you. And as Freddie Mercury once said, on with the show.
And I quote, the NBA jersey sales via its online store are up 21% year over year since the February 6th trade deadline.
Why?
Quote, primarily driven by Luka Doncic's trade to the Lakers. That came from our very own Marc Stein, as the NBA has been revealing its numbers today as far as top-selling jerseys, most viewed play through social media, all these other numbers and types of things. The number one selling jersey in the NBA would be number 77, Luka Doncic. Guess it was number 5 on the top-selling jersey list.
I already know, so I don't want to spoil it.
Brandon
Number
Williams.
5 on the top.
Grant Williams?
No, not quite.
Probably not Wemby. Wemby would be higher.
He's not.
He's not.
Really? Is it Wemby?
It is not. He's number 6.
Think ties to the DLLS Mavs.
Quentin Grimes.
Ooh, that's a good guess.
It's a good
Anthony
guess. Not quite.
I already forgot. I don't know. I don't want to guess.
Let's go with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson
okay.
comes in at number 5. So your top 5 selling jerseys: Luka Doncic, Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, and Jalen Brunson coming in at number 5 to round out the top 10. Victor Wembanyama at 6, Anthony Edwards at number 7, John Moran at number 8, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at number 9, and number 10, Nikola Jokic comes in at number 10 as far as the top 10 jersey sales of the year. 11 through 15, Giannis, LaMelo Ball comes in at number 12, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Jaylen Brown number 15.
Did you ever say Wemby?
I said he's a number 6.
Oh, number 6. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. So there you go. So the NBA revealing some of those numbers today as far as
Interesting.
its merchandising and metrics for the season. Tanner is not thrilled at all. It's okay, Tanner.
I mean, 2 of the top, global icons of basketball were on this team just 3 years ago. So now, granted, that was 3 Phoenix Suns coaches ago. So it depends on how you measure time. It's all very elastic.
Exactly. That's a great point. Speaking of teams that are not going to be in the playoffs, we mentioned the Phoenix Suns last segment with our NBA insider, Marc Stein. News coming from the Pelicans as David Griffin has been fired as the leader of their basketball operation. So the New Orleans Pelicans will be looking for a new president of basketball operations this summer.
You know what's coming after that.
Well, Willie Green right now is safe. He is safe right now until they hire a new leader of operations who will then decide his fate, reportedly.
I really thought it might be a Denver situation where they both got let go. But, yeah, I would hesitate just yet to say Willie Green is safe. Also been reporting that maybe he will be the new coach of the Phoenix Suns.
Willie Green?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Jake Fisher was saying that's the name that's been connected to Phoenix.
Interesting.
You good? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Tanner was about to talk on the mic, and then he got scared. He got stage fright.
Don't choke in the moment, Tanner.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at some of the playoff matchups in both the East and the West, as, of course, the playing games will begin tomorrow and continue on Wednesday. Again, our pregame show for our game on Wednesday will be at 8:30 p.m. with tip-off at 9 p.m. We will have our Kings Mavs watch-along as well for the play-in, so make sure that you mark your calendar for that. Again, 8:30 pregame for us here on DLLS
Joe
Sports.
Dumars is a front runner to become the lead basketball executive with the New Orleans Pelicans for Shams.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What?
Wow. That's,
Hi.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Has he been out of a job for like 10 years?
like, for what? Anyway.
He's currently heading NBA basketball ops.
Yeah, no, he's the guy that talks about officials a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Dude.
why?
Why?
The Pelicans made a mistake by not making Trajan Langdon the president of basketball operations when they had the chance to do it. And now he's running things. He's running the show in Detroit, and you see what Detroit's been able to do, making the playoffs.
Dumars was executive of the year once.
Yeah,
But they're like 20 years
22
ago?
years ago.
Yeah. 21.
Yeah.
In
Like,
2003.
How many
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns coaches ago is that?
0203.
great point.
Oh, maybe.
A lot of coaches.
You're right,
A
you're
lot
right.
of Phoenix Suns coaches
You're right,
ago.
you're right.
What on earth,
Yeah,
dude?
that's kind of wild.
He was a GM in 2014. That was the last time he was a GM.
Who was that for?
That was the Pistons.
He was for Detroit. Okay. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
And then he was a consultant for the Kings. So that went well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, that's it.
Just why can't we give young people a chance? Can I get back on my boomer
Yeah,
soapbox?
please go ahead.
Give young people a chance, man. Why no retreads. No more retreads. No more retreads.
You know who did that
No more.
from a coaching standpoint?
God, dude, like the Pelicans just hired the dude that built the title team in Cleveland. He was kind of a retread, but like he definitely deserved another job.
For sure.
That didn't work. So how about let's go sign the
Even
our next
further.
GM. He was at the top of his craft before the guy that won the title for the Cavs was even in the NBA. And he's wrapping up his 21st season right now. Like, what are we doing? Sign someone new. Get some new ideas.
If you want to do a retread, I've got a great idea from you. Somebody who loves running basketball operations but currently has no influence over it, Mark Cuban.
Ooh.
Mark Cuban.
Oh, that would be
wow.
Yeah.
great. Now,
Let's see it, Mark.
So
Go
have
get your
Have him
revenge.
sell the rest of his 27% to go run basketball operations in New Orleans?
Yeah. Just give it to one of his kids.
I don't know why franchises are addicted to retreads, man. It happens all the time. There's got to be someone with new ideas. There's got to be someone with new
it's
ideas.
the same reason why Doc Rivers keeps getting jobs. Like, go with what you know. And Doc Rivers hasn't
I
won a
get
damn
it.
thing since 2008.
I get it more for coaching.
I
For coaching,
don't.
it makes a little bit more sense to me. For executives, no. Just, you don't need someone who 20 years ago was running. Yeah, I'm with Bobby, specifically on executives. It's just crazy to me.
I mean, it just depends on your franchise, I guess. Coaches can be a little different. I mean,
coaches have to directly build relationships with NBA stars. That is
earn
that
respect
to me,
and
that to me is a different type of job that does create, it does take a very specific type of person. I'm not saying that anybody could be an NBA GM. I am saying that the special sauce of what makes you a good NBA coach is a little bit harder to identify and find, and I think there's fewer people who have it. And so I do understand going back to the well more often for head coaching. I just think it's a different situation when it comes to executives running a front office.
With that, let's take a look at some of the matchups in the first round of both the East and the West. With those being set already, of course, you've got the 3-seeded Lakers taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the 3-6 matchup, and the Nuggets taking on the Clippers in the 4-5 matchup in the Western Conference. Over on the Eastern Conference side of things,
Slop says Nico Harrison had some new ideas.
He did.
Oh boy, he sure did. He had some ideas.
Very new ideas.
The Knicks taking on the Pistons in the 3-6 matchup, and the Pacers taking on the Bucks in the 4-5 matchup. Of course, the 1-8 and 2-7 matchups in both the East and the West left to be determined after the play-in games have been decided. Of the matchups that have been already decided and will be playing out, is there a matchup on either side that you're like, yes, I've got to watch that entire series from start to finish?
All of them, Kev.
Wolves Lakers. Absolutely. I think that's going to be a great series. I would not be surprised if the Wolves win that series. I would only be surprised if it didn't go at least 6 games. I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch Luka v. Ant. I think it's going to be great. Gobert, size versus speed, shooting versus, strength or whatever, length, whatever, everything the Wolves have going on. I think it's going to be some awesome, awesome basketball. I cannot wait for that series.
I think
Pacers Bucks too. I think it's going to be
okay.
Pacers Bucks should be fun.
Bobby's Bucks. Got it.
They're not my Bucks, and they're not my Pacers either. I hope both teams lose that series.
Okay, got it. All right.
You don't like either?
I like the Pacers players.
Bobby Portis is back for the Bucks too. Interesting wrinkle for them that I got him back.
Big series for Bobby's actually. So I'm pretty torn.
That's true.
I'm pretty torn.
I'm kind of excited for Knicks Pistons.
That's the one for me.
Yeah.
For the sake of being different, that's the one for me.
Like obviously the Cavs and the Celtics, there's no interest in their first round series. It doesn't really matter who comes out to me. Not really.
No, it doesn't.
But Pistons Knicks should be kind of fun.
Decent chance that Jalen Duren and Cat have to be separated in at least 3 games.
Jalen Duren?
I like that. Yeah, Jalen Duren, yeah.
That's the scrapper?
Well,
Isaiah Stewart.
I mean, he's the
Stewart's
starter.
there.
He's the star. I'm not
Ron
talking
Holland.
about Isaiah Stewart, Ron Holland. Like those guys, that's a given.
For sure. I'm excited to see Cade Cunningham on the playoff stage. He's had a breakout year, obviously. The Pistons tripled their win total from a season ago to get themselves into the postseason. I think JB Bickerstaff should be right at the top, along with Kenny Atkinson for Coach of the Year in the association. And more so than anything, watching Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns work this thing out together with the New York Knicks as far as their postseason is concerned, I think that's a very intriguing matchup. But Cade Cunningham, for me, I'm interested to see him on the playoff stage for the very first time and how he responds. So shout out to Cade Cunningham.
I think the more I think about it, if Atlanta wins the 7-8, I think they could scare Boston. Not win, but I think they could take one of the first 2 games. I think Orlando cannot. Orlando loses painfully in 4. I think Atlanta has enough size and switchability and length and shooters, and all it takes is one good shooting game. I think they could run with Boston for a game or 2, in the first 4. Maybe even if everything goes right, be 2-2 after 4.
Is Jaylen Brown's knees going to hold up this postseason? Because apparently my man's been receiving injections as the season has gone
on. A lot
on.
of this is also that I think Boston's going to take a while to ramp up. I still think they're probably the best team in the NBA. But I could see that series being fun, even if Boston almost certainly wins.
I'm going to be really bummed if it's not Cleveland-Boston
in the East Final.
Same.
Shout out to Ozzy D with the $1.99 super chat on our way out the door here. We need the DLLS Mavs version of Club Pop Pop.
Well, we had Club Cato, but he just abandoned it. So,
That's right.
Tim,
do better.
I have to go out.
Figure it out this offseason, right?
I have to go out in the arena every time.
You do.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to do that.
I demand it.
We'll let those two work it out after the show here.
Work it out. We just did.
Because that'll do it for us on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We will be back tomorrow with our regular show at 12 p.m. as we do our deep dive into the Mavericks taking on the Kings in the playing game on Wednesday night. Again, our pregame show on Wednesday will begin at 8:30 with our watch along immediately following after, as we will watch together the Mavericks taking on the Sacramento Kings. We appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you to our nationally made insider Marc Stein for joining us during the program as well. That is our Mavericks analyst Bobby Curlo. That is our Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. I'm your host Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.